When I collapsed at work, the doctors called my parents. They never came. 3 days later, still hooked to machines, I opened my phone and saw what they'd been doing instead. My sister's smiling face tagged me under a photo. Family day without the drama. The caption burned more than the IV in my arm. I didn't text. I didn't cry. I just watched the likes climb, wondering when family stopped meaning love and started meaning performance. 4 days later, 74 missed calls appeared on my screen and one message from Dad. "We need you." That was the moment everything changed, just not in the way they expected. I used to believe exhaustion was the price of being dependable. At Green Tech, deadlines were tight and projects endless. Somehow I was always the one who stayed late, the one who made things happen. To everyone else, it looked like ambition. It wasn't. It was survival. Every hour I worked wasn't just for me. It was for the people waiting at home to be rescued again. My dad, Robert, had been out of work since the housing crash. My mom, Elena, covered for him with soft excuses. My sister, Marissa, bounced from one failed influencer venture to the next, and I kept covering her emergencies. Peyton, the youngest, borrowed quietly and forgot loudly. From the outside, we were a picture-perfect family. Inside, I was the foundation holding up a house everyone else kept kicking holes in. Grandpa Joe was the only one who ever really saw me. A former accountant, he could read people like balance sheets. "You can't audit love," he'd told me once, "but you'll know when the numbers stop adding up." I didn't want to believe him. I'd been raised on the idea that loyalty fixed everything, so I kept fixing. The night before I collapsed, I was in the office at 10 p.m., staring at blueprints I could barely see. My chest had been tightening for weeks. I chalked it up to stress. It wasn't. When Marissa texted asking me to cover her rent again, I typed "sure." That was the last message I sent before the floor rushed up to meet me. The hospital lights were too white, too clean, like they were trying to erase what happened. When I woke, everything was blurred, and the doctor's voice sounded far away. "Cardiac event. You were lucky. Lucky shouldn't have kept me alive. Love should have." They told me they'd called my parents. No answer, no visit, nothing. On the third day, they brought me my phone. The first notification wasn't a text or missed call. It was a tag on that family picnic photo. Family day without the drama. Their smiles looked easier without me. By the fourth day, I was walking again, slow and shaky. That morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. 74 missed calls. A text from Dad. "We need you. Answer immediately." Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "We're sorry, just urgency. Command." I didn't call back. Not this time. Instead, I called Grandpa, Joe. He picked up on the second ring and didn't ask for explanations. He showed up within 40 minutes, quiet and steady, the one person who still felt like safety. He sat beside my bed and glanced at the monitor. "They finally broke you, huh?" I managed a weak smile. He already knew. He always did. He stayed all day. When the billing clerk mentioned unpaid balances, he pulled out his tablet and got to work. Before you start cutting cords, you need to know where they all lead. We went through everything: checking accounts, auto transfers, insurance payments, joint credit lines. My stomach twisted as the list grew. Money had been bleeding out of me for years. "You thought it was love," he said gently. "They thought it was obligation." Different math. That night, he helped me map every recurring payment. The next morning, I shut them all down one by one. Marissa's account canceled. Peyton's rent deposit gone. Mom's insurance removed. Each click felt like oxygen. The messages rolled in immediately. "Why didn't you tell us? It's a misunderstanding. If you don't fix this, I'll lose everything." My reply to Marissa was one word: "Good." Grandpa Joe watched, calm and unshaken. "They're not calling because they care," he said. "They're calling because they're cornered." Soon the fallout hit. My father waited in his car outside my building. Marissa posted dramatic videos blaming me, cropping old photos to paint me as unstable. Influencers shared her story. Strangers called me ungrateful. Then someone stitched her "family day without the drama" post beside her crying video. The tide turned. People dug up everything she'd posted while I was in the hospital. Their online empire collapsed overnight. Grandpa Joe made a few quiet calls. Within 2 days, we had the mortgage papers, loan defaults, and proof they'd drained the house equity. The math exposed them. I filed a fraud report and sent cease and desist letters to each of them. Next came an even lower move. They tried to file for emergency conservatorship over me. They didn't know Grandpa Joe had already moved everything into a trust. Their petition died before it reached a judge. They still didn't stop. More videos, more accusations, more manipulation wrapped in pity. Then a courier delivered a handwritten will from my father. He disinherited me until she reconciles. As if dangling money would drag me back. I laughed. They still thought I wanted something. That night, I instructed my attorney to file a permanent no-contact request and formally waive any rights to their estate. It was final. 2 weeks later, Grandpa Joe and I drove east toward Colorado. We rented a small cabin near a ridge lined with pine. I worked remotely, fewer hours, no pressure. Days began with black coffee and ended with honest quiet. Sometimes messages still filtered through distant relatives or strangers online. I ignored them. My truth no longer needed witnesses. One morning, Grandpa Joe looked at me over his newspaper. "You did it. You broke the cycle," I smiled. "It only cost everything." He chuckled. "That's the discount price." For the first time in my life, I wasn't the fixer, the provider, the daughter who owed everyone. I was just Ava, alive, unowned, finally free. I used to think silence meant defeat. Now I know silence can be a choice, a boundary, a kind of peace that doesn't need permission. They still try to reach me through other people, testing the quiet. I never answer. Some stories don't need new chapters. They need endings. If you've ever been called selfish for choosing yourself, I hope this reminds you that peace is not betrayal. It's survival. Let them keep their posts, their pity, their version of events. I'll keep my stillness, my laughter, my life. If you've walked away from your own blood to heal, your story belongs here too.